June the 15th, 1399. You can hear a distant bell tolling as the first light of dawn glitters on the Vistula River, an industrious friar. Somewhere in the outskirts of Kraków, hailing the arrival of the new day, long before the priests in our own cathedral have risen from their beds. It has been a long time since I noticed such things, the little things of beauty that season our days of war and toil and make them almost palatable. But as I lie here, counting the days until the arrival of my first child, I notice them more and more. Perhaps they never went away. Perhaps being confined to this bed has simply opened my eyes to them again. Better is a handful of quietness than 2 hands full of toil and a striving after wind. As I write these words of the preacher, the mighty bells of Wawel Cathedral finally toll for the morning. Incredible, really, how the sound of those bells is wedded both to the worst and the most wonderful memories of my life. I came to this city when I was 11 years old, a lonely princess from Hungary, surrounded by guards, a stranger in a strange land. This kingdom of Poland, which my late father had left as my inheritance, was a country on the brink of ruin. A civil war raged, with every duke and petty lord laying claim to the throne, and my hand in marriage as his queen. It was not a prospect I longed for, but, on the other hand, coming here meant that I would finally get to meet William again. My William, the Habsburg Prince of Austria. We had been promised to each other since before I could remember. Once I sat upon the throne of Poland, we would be wedded at last. As the mountains came to an end, and the bells of Wawel Cathedral sang from Kraków in the distance, it was him I thought of. What I wouldn't give to be so young and naive again.
We are entering Polish territory, Your Highness. The roads are bound to be crawling with rebel soldiers. Let us hurry. We do not want the future queen to be late to her own coronation.
I'm afraid that we cannot let you pass, Your Highness. The Duke of Mazovia thinks far too highly of you to allow the leaders of Kraków to use you as their puppet.
Gotowa jest.
Tak uczynię.
His
Do
puppet,
waszych
on the
usług.
other hand,
Princess Jadwiga, I am glad and honored to finally meet you. Go ahead to the cathedral, Your Highness. I shall be with you shortly for your coronation.
Now, the Queen's new suitor will soon be here. It falls on us to rid the realm of all who would oppose
Rozkazania?
this
Gotów
marriage.
jestem.
Zbieram.
Rozkazania?
Natychmiast wykonam. Rozkazania.
Pojmuję. Natychmiast wykonam. Sprawiacz. Gotów
Natychmiast
jestem.
wykonam.
I must say, Archbishop, the
Jestem
Queen
gotów.
seems to have taken the news quite well.
Jadwiga remains unaware of our plans. She still believes that she will marry William of Habsburg. The truth will devastate her. But a child's sorrow is as violent as it is short-lived. I am sure that she will see reason in the end.
Przykazania, panie, zatem.
Thank you for freeing us. The Duke had us building siege engines for him, for free. Can you imagine? It breaks my entrepreneurial heart. Now you, Queen Jadwiga, you seem like an honest customer. For a trifling sum, I am willing to sell you these trebuchets that we built for the Duke. Pleasure doing business with you. Now you should also know about our return policy. Which is that we have no return policy.
Enough! I will not see my city razed to the ground. Queen Jadwiga has my allegiance, and so does whoever the nobles of Krakow have chosen to be her spouse.
Gotów, witajcie, mój mój.
Dark tidings. It appears that the rebellious Duke has aligned himself with the Teutonic Order. These crusaders will be swelling the ranks of his army.
Did you think that our holy order would stand idly by while you put a pagan king on your throne? I am afraid that you were sorely mistaken.
If this war lasts much longer, Poland will have no fighting men left to defend it. For the sake of our kingdom, I will yield. I shall accept the man that Krakow wants as king.
We will not fight for a duke who bows to a pagan king. Come, my brothers, let us return to Prussia.
The Teutons are pulling back, and both of the dukes have surrendered to us. The realm is at peace.
2 more weeks until we reach Krakow. Then I shall finally lay eyes on my bride.
It was at the end of the war that William arrived outside the castle gates. When I heard the news, it was as though a pulse of sunlight came from my heart, and I ran to meet him, only to see him surrounded by my own guards. I threw myself at the gate, but the guards pulled me away. And William disappeared in the crowd of uniforms and glittering steel. The Archbishop, his otherwise kind eyes, gray and hard, spoke almost in a whisper, as if the words stung his throat. Your marriage to Prince William has been annulled, my queen. We have found a more suitable king for Poland. His name is Jogaila, Duke of Lithuania. I felt my heart shatter. The noblemen of Krakow had never intended to honor my vows to William, as they didn't want Poland to fall under Habsburg influence. And so they had made a secret deal with Jogaila of Lithuania. A deal they now expected me to fulfill. For a long time, I insisted that I would marry my William. But after many days and nights, in tears and in prayer, I could see no other way out than to break that vow. I would trade my own happiness for the happiness of the Polish people. I would marry Jogaila, the pagan duke, and do my duty as queen. God forgive me. Jogaila. It was like the name of a demon in those early days. He was a handsome man in his way. He had a face of stone and steel, and eyes like frozen pools. It was not until months later that I saw his features soften, his eyes becoming warm as he looked at me. His child bride, the key to his political legacy. I was not immediately swayed by this pagan that the nobles had saddled me with. He was not a man of the heart. He thrived in the royal court and on the battlefield, and every choice he made was to further his political goals. He was nothing like my William. But as the months went by, I began to warm to him. Before ascending to the Polish throne, he was baptized. And he swore to Christianize the whole of Lithuania. He even changed his name to Władysław Jagiełło, to sound more Polish, more Christian. But to me, he would always be Jogaila. As ruthless as he was to his opponents, he was always a good husband. My words, whether private or given as political advice, mattered to him. And I often felt that we were equals on the throne. What a strange, powerful feeling. After the Civil War, our first aim was to rebuild what had been lost. Nowhere was this more necessary than in the province of Galicia. And so we traveled there, together, to right the wrongs of the recent past.
Rozkazania?
Civil War ravaged these lands.
Jestem górnikiem.
We must help the locals rebuild and fortify their towns before we can expect them to swear fealty to us again.
The town of Harwich lies to the south. The nobles there still dream of carving out a kingdom for themselves in Galicia. We will have to deal with them ruthlessly.
Queen Jadwiga! Our city was badly damaged during the Duke's latest war. If you could repair our walls, we would be forever grateful.
Rozkazania? Sprawiacz. Tak. Natychmiast wyprawiam.
Splendid
Rozkazania?
sight.
Sprawiam.
You must give me the name of your architect. As a show of my gratitude, I shall send some of my finest masons to work for you.
Jestem
Our
sprawiaczką.
university was reduced to rubble during the war.
Rozkazania?
We ask that you rebuild it so that our poor young men can start learning again. Well, not the poor young men, of course, but you know what I mean.
It is time that we finally parted with our pagan past. Let it be known that Jogaila, king of Poland and Lithuania, was the one to convert the last of the pagans.
Galicia has suffered long enough under Polish rule. From this day on, the lords of Harwich will rule these lands.
Przykazania, panie? Tak, do usług. Oczywiście. Tak, natychmiast przykazania, panie. Imię Boga. Idę zatem. Tak. Witajcie. Natychmiast wykonam. Zbieracz. Tak. Imię Boga. Oczywiście. Tak, natychmiast idę przykazania, panie. Imię Boga.
The church is pleased with your work in converting the heathens, King Jogaila.
Witajcie.
These technologies will help you in your quest to spread the faith.
Gotów jestem. Jestem górnikiem. Imię Boga.
We are impressed with you, King Jogaila. If you convert 10 more pagan villagers, we will send you a holy relic. As a show of faith, if you will.
Rozkazania? w imię Boga.
You are truly doing God's work.
Natychmiast się tym
Take this
zajmę.
relic
Gotowa
as
jest.
proof of the church's gratitude.
Do usług.
Enough!
Tak.
Jogaila, you promised us that we will be allowed to keep our old ways. If our king will not protect us from the curse of the cross, we will do so ourselves.
Drwal.
I feel safer already with that fortress in my backyard.
Sprawiacz.
You can count on
Tak,
our town
sprawiacz.
support.
Rozkazania.
Witajcie.
We surrender! Destroy our ancient ways if you must, but please, spare our lives.
The people of Lviv once again have a center of learning.
Rozkazania. Natychmiast wykonam.
I must say,
Witajcie.
that castle really ties the place together. You can count on our support, Your Highness.
Sprawiacz.
Magnificent building, Your Highness. I shall hide my
Rozkazania.
riches in there right away. Jeroboam will support you in this war.
Looks like you have finally managed to
Sprawiacz.
even the odds, Queen Jadwiga.
Sprawiacz.
No matter. It will make my inevitable victory even more glorious.
Might I ask a final favor of you, my queen? Our castle has seen better days. But if you were to rebuild it, we would feel safe enough to send some of our men to fight for you.
Do waszych usług. Tak, panie.
That is the sorriest excuse for an army that I ever saw. Allow me to show you what a proper army looks like.
Our city has been restored to its former
Gotowa
glory.
jest.
Natychmiast
All
wykonam.
hail Queen Jadwiga!
Our city lies in ruins. Enough of this. We will bow to Queen Jadwiga and King Jogaila.
As the noblemen of Halych surrendered, the last embers of insurrection in Galicia went out. Poland was at peace, and Jogaila was now the unquestioned king of the country. With Poland unified and Lithuania on its way to being Christianized, it seemed as though nothing could stand in our way. Unfortunately, Jogaila was not the only warrior duke that his house had spawned. Since a king's word is supreme, who can say to him, "What are you doing?" So says the preacher. Vytautas, Jogaila's cousin, disagreed. Back in Lithuania, he was building an alliance of noblemen who would rather have him as duke than Jogaila. And people were flocking to him. Many of the Lithuanian nobles were disillusioned with Jogaila's reign, the few times the king went back to Lithuania. He spent his days converting the people to Christianity en masse and burning pagan holy sites. The things we do for the Pope's approval. Vytautas was no pagan zealot, but he knew an opportunity when he saw one. As the son of Kęstutis, a former Duke of Lithuania who had been killed on Jogaila's orders, he also had a bone to pick with his cousin. That personal mission of revenge resonated with the Lithuanian people, even though Vytautas, being quite accustomed to that ruthless political climate, used it mostly for political gains. But, as I said, Vytautas knew an opportunity when he saw one.
You have been quite busy in your new kingdom, cousin. Far too busy to care for your own people. It is no wonder that Lithuania now looks to me as its leader. I suggest that you scurry back to Poland and leave these lands to a proper ruler.
I should have murdered him when I killed his father, Kęstutis. Very well. If Vytautas will not relinquish my lands, I will take them by force. Tell me, which towns are still loyal to me?
These 3 towns remain under your control. The others have been seized by Vytautas' forces.
Then let us retake them.
I never really liked that town anyway.
It would seem that our friend Vytautas has some problems holding onto his new throne. Perhaps we can be of help.
Owszem, do broni! Atakujmy! Do broni! Naprzód! Tak?
Another victory for the Union!
I never really liked that town anyway.
Lord Vytautas promised us the lands of Samogitia if we would join him. Now, who could refuse a chance at converting the last true pagans in Europe? For now, we march with Vytautas.
Rozkazania?
Another victory for the Union!
Witajcie.
Tak, pojmuję. Jestem sprawiaczką. Jestem sprawiaczką.
Another victory for the Union!
This war is bleeding our lands dry. What say you, Vytautas? Shall we settle this in a more civilized manner?
The swords are spoken.
Naprzód!
Now let the pens make the final statement.
Vytautas, much like jogaila, was at heart a pragmatist. Apparently, that is what they called themselves. The men who would shake hands with their father's murderer for a bit of land and a slightly fancier title. As total victory proved impossible, Vytautas settled for a partial one. He would become Duke of Lithuania, claiming Jogaila's old title, but Jogaila would remain his overlord. And with the stroke of a pen, the Lithuanian civil war came to a close. For all the bloodshed we had seen, I believe that something was born that day that will eclipse any of their military victories. A true union between our countries. It happened gradually, but it dawned on me at last why I had been put in this role as queen. I had been placed there by Providence to preserve this union. This bond of peace between two countries and their peoples. It is a beautiful thing, peace. A rare thing. A golden seam that glitters only for a moment in the fabric of reality. If I leave no other legacy than having kept this union intact for a few more years, I shall have served my people well.